Hey friends, so listen, nobody really likes sitting around asking ourselves questions we know we may not like the answer to. We actually don't like to ask those questions of others either. So yeah, nobody likes asking hard questions. When we're doing it with others, it can be difficult to dodge. I mean, sometimes we have to know what is really going on in a situation, or we have to ask someone to come clean and be honest with us. We have to know exactly what we're working with. With ourselves, though, it can be much easier to avoid those types of questions. I mean, we are in control of ourselves. We do pretty much what we want and so on. So if we don't want to deal with something, then we just don't deal with it, right? Well, that is technically true. We could, in theory, never address any of our issues. We could just keep on trucking through life in whatever way we are best able. But is that really the healthy thing to do? Is it conducive to our growth as a person? Does it help us gain self-awareness and understanding? Does it help us in any way at all? I think you know the answer here. And in case it's not super obvious, let's turn to my friend and yours, Aristotle, who gave us this nugget of wisdom many, many years ago. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. He really nailed it on that one, I must say. Self-knowledge is so important. It is how you understand your real needs, your goals, desires, strengths, weaknesses, basically everything that makes you tick. And the path to self-knowledge is paved with questions. Some of them are difficult and are going to bring up emotions and things that you'd rather not think about. Some of them are going to require you to be very honest with yourself about things like who you really are, what your fears and worries are, what you are holding on to that you really should have let go of a long time ago. What really matters the most to you? What truly makes you happy? So you might be thinking, okay, sure, having a really healthy sense of self-knowledge sounds like I need to dig deep, and that's hard work, but okay. But why do it? What if I don't really want to grow as a person? What if I'm fine right here? Is all of this really that big of a deal? Well, yeah. It kind of is. You know why? Because first, you should always be trying to grow as a person. Think about yourself as a houseplant with complicated feelings, which is basically what people are. When you are healthy and cared for, you grow and flourish. When you aren't growing, you're stagnant. Sometimes you go the other direction. You wither. I don't know about you, but I think life can wither us enough. Let's not also rush that along or choose stagnation simply because it's easier. I mean, I guess you can do that, but that's not really what we do here on this channel. So if that's you, then maybe stop watching now and move on to something that won't challenge you to be the best person you can be. That is always going to happen on this channel, people. Just saying. Anyway, besides the issue of personal growth, when you get the answers to those hard questions you ask yourself, it can positively affect everything else you do. It improves your relationships with others. It helps you advocate for yourself and keep your needs and wants at the front of your own priority list. And when difficulty comes along, it helps you better navigate those situations and make better choices. It helps you get through, to put it simply. The benefits don't just stop there. Asking yourself hard questions and getting real answers builds a deep level of acceptance for yourself, too. It helps you be less self-critical and less harsh on yourself. It makes you less likely to repeat mistakes because you realize they are supposed to be lessons. Self-understanding also helps you improve your confidence. You learn how to better express yourself, have more self-control, and my personal favorite of the bunch, improving your emotional intelligence. Speaking of that, we are finally ready to get rolling with the Priority Messages podcast. That will be launched very, very soon. And one of the first episodes deals with that very subject, improving your emotional intelligence. We will keep you posted on when that is released and ready for you to listen to, so stay tuned. So anyway, I think you get the idea of what I'm trying to say here. Asking yourself hard questions has way more benefits than it does detractions, because the knowledge you gain from the answers is so valuable in challenging yourself to be the best version of you that you can be. But what exactly are hard questions? How about some examples? Glad you asked, because here are a few. What is my biggest fear, and how can I overcome it? What are my strengths, and how can I fully use those to my advantage? What are my weaknesses, and how can I work on improving those? What are my relationships like, and how can I improve those? What are some of my habits, and are they helping or hindering me from reaching goals? There are probably a dozen or so more that I could come up with, but in the ones that I did just mention, you may have noticed that all of the questions have two parts to them. The first is fact-finding, the second is action. I'm pretty sure that will be the most difficult part of the question for just about anyone, because, let's face it, it's one thing to be aware of an issue, but it is entirely another to actually do something about it. Friends, I have often said on this channel that it is just as important for us to be honest with ourselves as it is to be honest with other people. There are probably at least 382 reasons why, but the most important one is likely that it's the only way to know when you're doing something wrong and how you can improve it. If you keep telling yourself that everything is perfectly fine in your life all the time, even when there are clear signs that that is not the case, you are just prolonging the inevitable task of having to deal with it later. I won't sit here and tell you how harmful it is to keep your emotions bottled up, or how not okay it is to basically gaslight yourself, because you already know this. You can't carry around baggage forever. You've got to come to a point where you unpack it. If you don't, life will come along and unpack it for you. Trust me on this one. That's just how it goes. So when you start the process of unpacking, when you start asking yourself those hard questions, you've got a leg up on whatever other timeline life feels like throwing at you. As the message says, don't be afraid to ask yourself those hard questions, even if you know you are not going to like the answers, even if you know they're going to make you uncomfortable, even if it's going to be difficult, even if it's going to require you to get vulnerable. Remember that if you don't feel safe doing that with yourself, you're not going to ever feel safe doing it with other people either. And at the end of the day, relationships with others always benefit when you have a good relationship with yourself first and foremost. And that relationship, that careful caretaking of you and all the things that makes you who you are, is the most important job you will ever have. Make sure that you do it well. That's all I've got for you this week. I'll be back next week with another priority message. Until then, take good care of yourselves. Bye.